Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Wizard of Legend on Rocket Rabbit Commentaries, and in this episode, we're back in the Thunder Fortress for segment 3 of our third run, and we have officially got Shock Nova. Shock Nova is extremely important to me because it is one of the very few, and I do mean very, very few spells in the game that effectively does not have a channel time. Okay, I'm going to bring up a different video game that is significantly worse, that I absolutely hate playing, but I don't have a choice because, you know, everyone else that that I game with, you know, absolutely is infatuated by it. One of the things that absolutely pisses me off about League of Legends is the fact that every single ability in the game, with the exception of, I believe, the auto attack steroids, ends up having a hidden channel time on all of their casts. It's what makes everything interruptible, and having everything interruptible makes sense when you're focused on the competitive stuff. However, it's absolutely going to go back to when you have access to certain games that actually have abilities that don't have channel times, and actively reward you for using them, when actively reward you for thinking, hey, this either does or does not have a channel time depending on how you want to use it. It is fucking amazing that Shock Nova has got a modular mode like that, and it's why it's one of the Arcana that I go back into all the time because of how useful it is. It also is fucking amazing because it's guaranteed to inflict the shock status on targets that it hits, which effectively locks them in place and deals a small amount of damage, meaning that you're constantly building signature charge with it. It is just that fucking awesome.
But is it overpowered?
I would not say so, because its damage up values, being an electric spell, are actually really goddamn low. I think its initial cast hits for 10, and each of the additional shock hits for 2 each, at least under normal play. So it usually hits enemies for about 20 damage, and it has a decent cooldown on it, of like 4 seconds. And at this point in the run, actually it's a 5-second cooldown. And at this point in the run, having increased cooldowns can absolutely get you killed. We're looking through the cursed relics here.
Like being helpless.
I don't want the stanza of flames because I don't have the other stanza.
The bolero of fire.
Crimson Clover. I'm pretty sure that I want the Crimson Clover, actually, because, you know, I already have Sanguine Attire on, so. No, we're just going to ignore them for now. Especially since I only have one.
So that dagger actually applies a debuff?
Alright, we go for the Mercenary's Dagger. Mercenary's Dagger makes it so that as long as you have above, I think it's 300 gold, you get a 10% damage bonus. But it will actually reduce your damage if you go underneath a certain threshold. I think it's underneath 100 gold. It will you get 25% increased damage while you're above the threshold. It's nice.
Well, because, you know, mercenaries get paid to kill, which means if you don't got no money, then you're not killing enough.
So, as we're going to the Thunder Fortress again, what's new in the world of Cloud?
Well, I just find it so adorable and refreshing that, just like in Sekiro, that now we have a third-person controlled character that breaks things with his face.
I mean, not really with his face, but...
So, I did find out something relatively recent, that an author that I'm reading, David Foster Wallace, and if you're listening to this and you know who David Foster Wallace is, you will understand that he is a wicked funny writer. I say this loosely in the present tense because I found out recently that as of 2008, he actually is no longer with us. Google did not say specifically what the cause of death was. He died tragically at the age of 47 or 48. And I just thought, wow, what a waste of a mind, because I'm still reading Consider the Lobster, and I have considered the Lobster, numerous times. I consider The Lobster every time I pick up the book that is titled Consider the Lobster. Like, it is a stroke of brilliance to make the act of picking up a book and reading it consistent with the premise of the book itself. However, he turned out to be suicidal, which has casted a dark shadow on everything that I started reading thereafter, because I didn't realize what I learned until I was halfway through the book.
Kind of. I mean, we're definitely supposed to have that kind of correlation to the performances and shows that Robin Williams put out as well. But to be to be a bit more frank and possibly disgusting about the subject, I don't really have that same emotional interaction with the deceased that I'm supposed to.
Well, like, okay, Robin Williams is a great example because he suffered from depression for most of
Yes.
his adult life, and some attribute that to his cause of death. I love singing Friend Like Me as sung by Robin Williams for the 1992 Disney film, not the 2019 version, because I will not sing anything from the 2019 Aladdin. I will not hear otherwise. That I don't, feel, depressed and morose Robin Williams. I don't feel the soul of a person who's dealing with demons. I'm having a great time when I'm singing that song, which finally is the point. It's a good feeling song. It just so happened to have come from a mind that is inexorably human because he struggled with very human suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson for any arts, from any artist, is that you have to look at the work as a product of a person, but is not necessarily in every aspect of the thing reflexive of that person.
I mean, we could definitely say the same thing about J.R.R. Tolkien's works, because J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit were made for two dramatically different audiences, and yet because of how much they have affected literature over the past infinite amount of time, they are lumped together as the quintessential pieces of fantasy literature that all people strive to either take from or be compared to.
Yeah, and that's I feel like we're getting off subject now while we're also commentating over.
Because what I'm trying to actually correlate there is that J.R.R. Tolkien, made The Hobbit specifically as a bedtime story for his kids, whereas Lord of the Rings is actually a positive if more fantastical look at a doomed world and how that world is stronger by coming together instead of fighting against itself.
And honestly, I think that's a good point that you raised. That first of all, let's not forget that just like video game developers, they don't make video games just to please themselves. They're making products to sell on a market. Same is true for artists and writers like J.R.R. Tolkien. He had, while his motivations were there for making a work in the first place, that ultimately it came down to a financial decision. Is I'm going to sell this thing, I'm going to make it what it is, I'm going to prepare it for a market. So that too also has really real intangible consequences on the work.
One of the things that I always end up stumbling over is because J.R.R. Tolkien put so much into the Lord of the Rings that that in the community it's well established in the fan community for Lord of the Rings that the Silmarillion is honestly a really deep and a great expansion to the world. But dear God, don't actually try and read it yourself. Get someone else to summarize it for you.
Cliff notes.
Effectively, yeah. I've not actually had the Silmarillion fully summarized for me. I know that there is a heavy rock album produced by, I think it's Blind Guardian, that specifically is a lot of keynotes from the Silmarillion that I should actually go and listen to. And I think I've listened to a good portion of it, but not all the way through. Anyway, here we have Strafe Archer, who is really difficult to play around, simply because a lot of his attacks actually cover a large portion of the battlefield. So it's a bit difficult to find the safe spacing in between the individual attacks. But we did it. We made it through 3-2, which means that all we got to do now is take down Thunder Twins, and then we will have reached the final boss. Think we can do it, Mr. Cloud?
Dun, 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 dun,
And look at us, man. We got Sanguine Attire. We got a full health bar. We have some really powerful Arcana. I mean, Thunder Twins is still one of my least favorite fights, but if we're gonna come into it, if we're gonna come into this fight, we may as well be as decked out as we currently are.
Oh my God! What a bullet hell this is.
Yeah, Tier 3 Thunder Twins is absolutely my worst fucking nightmare when it comes to the area bosses.
Well, just okay. So in the last part, we were talking about how these bosses are very similar in how they put you on a schedule, for lack of a better word, for when you're supposed to hit them and when you're just supposed to be evading. But these fucking guys, they take it to another level, because you end up dodging so much that when they just are just standing still waiting to take the hits, you're on the other side of the map because of all the dodging
Shu also has that problem, just to a lesser extent. All right, we did take down the Thunder Twins.
Oh, Thunder Twin powers deactivate.
All right, Thunder Twins, when are you going to grab us? Rising Inferno.
Wonder Twin. I kept calling them the Wonder Twins.
Yes, that was the joke you were making.
Yes,
Wonder Twin powers activate.
I'm sorry. I thought because Wonder and Thunder have the same fucking vowel sound.
All right. So we've not actually seen this area before, but this is the final gauntlet into the final boss. You fight off against a bunch. Against a bunch of elite mooks, as well as some chaos spawn, and then you fight off against one more of the area mini bosses. What one are we gonna fight this time? After the bit of the chaos spawn, it's gonna be the Grand Summoner. I don't like fighting the Grand Summoner.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's almost down. There he goes. Okay.
Grand Summoner.
Now buy the potion. Anything here that we want? Nope.
Ooh.
Any Arcana that we want?
It's a giant matchstick.
Don't be dissing the matchstick, dude.
Hey, you get VIP
tickets. Is actually quite nice. And booyah, full health into the final boss. Hey, Sura.
Congratulations on getting to
now
this
let us
point.
begin the final
However,
challenge.
my white hair and I will not have this. Oh shit, we're in space.
So there is a lot of astral theming going on throughout the run. Specifically, it's kind of implied that Arcana are not, actually an earthly element, a earthly natural element to the world, but rather something that comes from somewhere else. It's not explicit at all. It's just pretty heavily implied that that's what's going on. But yeah. A lot of the Chaos Arcana that we will be able to play with a bit later will bring this home quite nicely, as they are all elements and have got a lot of void theming around them. But yeah,
Okay, so that was a red
Yes,
herring.
the first form of Sura is just the Avatar fight, and then you have to actually deal with an actual, what is effectively an actual PvP match against someone that effectively has either all of your stuff or most of your stuff.
Yes, the PvP match, which I suppose was the point of Father Gascoigne in Bloodborne, because Father Gascoigne was the first actual hunter that you have to fight against in the game. Yeah, this talk about being lulled into a false sense of security, because yeah, no shit, this guy has a second form. The first form was easy. This is, we're going down. I mean, Jesus Christ. No amount of rock punches to the face are going to get us
Maybe
out
not
of this
rock
one.
punches, but we do still have Aqua Beam and Homing Flare, so we almost had it.
So very close.
Yeah. And as Annotations Gerdat mentions here, I was a bit worried that we were going to end up cutting the playthrough short if I actually took down Sura so quickly. So, yeah, I kind of folded towards the end of the fight, but yeah. Sura is actually difficult. He is. You can tell that he's difficult specifically by how much shit is going on in the fight itself. But yeah, I did technically, fold at it. I am trying. The reason why we keep going back to the cloaks is because there's a specific cloak that I'm hunting for that both increases our damage and decreases our cooldowns. Sadly, it still wasn't here. So
you're telling me that the whole point of all this setup and getting equipages and talking to vendors and working on your Arcana is just to beat that one
just
final
to beat
boss?
Sura. Once we beat Sura, credits will roll.
Huh.
Damn it! Now I don't have enough Chaos Gems in order to buy the best Thunder spell in the game. Ugh. Oh well.
So that means that some people walked away from this saying, like, "Oh, you had a problem with Wizard of Legend, dude? I beat that game inside an hour."
Some people, not a lot though, because the mechanical skill that it requires in order to beat this game within 2 hours, you can't really get from other action roguelikes. So. Because as I've been a bit over before, most other action roguelikes aren't actually this fast. I think only Binding of Isaac is actually as fast as this one is, and even then, Binding of Isaac's theming and pace are drastically different. In the next episode, we'll do some grinding off screen. Be safe, everybody.